Joining me now, Ghaffarian of IBX, Axiom Space, Intuitive Machines, X Energy, Quantum Space. The list goes on. A technologist, an innovator, I would say a futurist. It's good to speak with you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's start a little bit with the space economy, because we seem to be at a critical juncture here. What do you see?
Definitely. I think we're at the inflection point, and I think the space economy is growing by leaps and bounds, especially with commercial space and private companies jumping in, with both feet, and it's accelerating. And I believe with AI and quantum computing and robotics as enablers is going to even accelerate further.
So what does accelerating further look like? What are we on the cusp of realizing with space?
Well, let's talk about some of my companies. Like, I believe by the end of this decade, actually sooner than that, we're going to have a commercial space station. Axiom Space is building a commercial space station, and we're going to launch our first module by early 2027, and the second one later on. So we will have a fully commercial space station in orbit before the end of the decade, before the International Space Station retires. Intuitive Machines is going to have more moon landers, and as you know, we made a major acquisition recently, buying formerly Maxar Space, Lantris organization. So building that whole lunar economy ecosystem, it's growing by leaps and bounds. Low Earth orbit economy is growing. At the same time, the national security space with the Space Force and Golden Dome and all those activities growing. So everything really when it comes to space is growing quite rapidly. And I do believe we're at the inflection point.
And if I just hone in on Axiom specifically right now, you're already sending astronauts to space, both private citizens and increasingly government employees as well, government astronauts. You're oversubscribed.
Yes.
What does this say about human spaceflight and access to space?
With the cost of access coming down, and I think is going to further go down in the future with Starship and New Glenn and all of that, there are many countries who are interested in being involved in space. So far, we've dealt with 11 countries, and the list is growing by leaps and bounds. And like you said, we are oversubscribed. We've done 4 missions. Our first mission, we took a Canadian astronaut, private astronaut, one from Israel, one from United States. Second mission, we took 2 astronauts from Saudi Arabia, first female from the Arab world, and one from United States. Third mission, an astronaut from Sweden, one from Italy, one from Turkey, which was their first ever astronaut to space, so it was like a Neil Armstrong moment for them. Our fourth mission, we had an astronaut from India, one from Poland, one from Hungary. India was interesting. I did not know this, but there are 350 million people in India under age 16 that were tuning to this mission. So think about the inspiration that we create for all these countries. And first mission for India going to ISS, same thing for Hungary and Poland. So, and then we're ready for our PAM-5 and PAM-6 missions, again, with more countries being involved.
Why is it so important? What is the business case? What is the innovation case for commercial space stations?
Okay, so to really look at the business case for commercial space, you got to look at the ecosystem we're creating, or new economy, that sort of like a hidden gem right now, but is growing by leaps and bounds. There are things that you can do in low Earth orbit or in space that you cannot do on Earth because of lack of gravity. So for example, you can do orbital data centers, you can do semiconductors, you can do pharmaceuticals, you can do bioprinting. We know we can do bioprintings of corneas and retinas in space today. Maybe in the future, we can think about possibly being able to bioprint a heart, key to a person's DNA, that you can maybe drop ship to a clinic, things of that sort. So everything that's happening in space really affects humanity as a whole. And so I think this economy in low Earth orbit is growing, and this new economy is going to be growing big time. There are things we can do, like, for example, fiber optics that cannot carry infrared signals if you do it on Earth, that you can do in space. It's because the molecules naturally go where they need to go because of lack of gravity.
And AI data centers in space.
Yes.
Something we've been hearing from folks like Jensen Huang at NVIDIA, but it's something you've already been putting money and tech to work on.
The last few years, we've been working with AWS, with orbital data centers in a small parts, but we're quickly getting into it more and more. We're one of the pioneers in that area. And when you hear from Google, from NVIDIA, from Elon, from Jeff Bezos, from Sam Altman, the future of data centers in space, that's a huge new exciting area that I believe is going to grow by leaps and bounds, and we're so excited to be part of it.
And the lunar economy through intuitive machines is another area you're focused on and building out that infrastructure. Why? I get this question a lot. So now I'm going to put it to you. Why is going to the moon, colonizing the moon, building out the moon, why is this so important?
Well, first of all, there is the economy aspects of it, and there's the human exploration aspects of it. The human explorations, we're explorers, and we only have discovered very small part of the universe. I mean, we've done it with James Webb Space Telescope and a Human Space Telescope. But my personal belief is that the ultimate destiny for humanity is to go to other stars. And we explore our galaxy and, and other stars within our galaxy alone. So Moon and Mars are really stepping stones toward that. That's from human space exploration. But there are so many things that we can do in terms of mining, for example. Like helium-3, for example, is one of the things that everybody needs and wants, that we can do for economic reason, but also national security reasons, right? I do believe that we're in a space race 2.0 this time with China, and United States needs to be, we've been leading the world for years, and I believe that we need to continue to lead and be the first country that goes back to the moon, and this time to stay and build a habitat there.
When you talk about this vision of humanity as interstellar, I mean, it's fascinating. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. Can it actually happen? What would it take to happen? How many generations out are we looking for something like that to even possibly take shape and happen?
I'll share this with you. When I was at the launch site for our first launch to the moon, I made this prediction that by 2050, right, that's like 25 years, 24 years from now, that we will probably have hourly launches to a space city above Earth, right, where people live and work, and there's space manufacturing in low Earth orbit. And we will have potentially a daily launches to the surface of the moon, again with people living and working and a habitat there. And hopefully a weekly launches to the surface of Mars, again people living and working, and we become interplanetary species, that we're not only living on Earth but we're living on other planets. And my personal dream is that hopefully we'll have quarterly launches to go to our closest star, Proxima Centauri, which is 4.25 light years from Earth. Of course we need to develop a lot more technologies to get there in terms of energy and propulsion and power and other things. And I think AI, quantum computing, robotics, all of that are huge enablers for us to do it. The universe is so incredibly vast. And if we really want to know ourselves, the way to do it is for us to become interstellar.
I would think this is crazy, bold, ambitious. I mean, it is bold and ambitious if it was anybody other than you, Cam. But I know what your portfolio of companies are up to. You just touched on the role of power in all of this. Yes. You have another company, X Energy,
yes,
that's working on nuclear.
Yes. We are world leader in small modular reactors. We signed a massive deal with Amazon AWS for initially 5 gigawatt that potentially can grow to 10 gigawatt. We're building our first plant for Dow Chemical in Cedar River, Texas, as part of a private-public partnership grant that we have with Department of Energy, U.S. Department of Energy. And then we just recently signed a massive deal with Centricon, UK government, a few months ago to also power AI data centers and other areas. And this whole thing is growing. If you talk to all these AI companies, they all say that the limiting factor for them is lack of power. We would lose the AI competition to Chinese if we don't have power to power the amount of power that AI needs. And so X-Energy is a leader in that area, and we're growing very fast to be able to scale. Today we have a backlog of 140 units, and we're building our fuel manufacturing in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and moving really fast to be able to scale globally.
And you have news with X-Energy.
X-Energy is growing, and we're looking how to scale, and so yes, things are happening very fast there.
Okay, how key is nuclear to this vision of space flight, space habitation, interstellar travel?
Yeah, huge. The reason orbital data centers in space is very important. First of all, because through the heat exchanger, you can get rid of the heat, which is a huge part. And solar is available 24/7, right? And so we need to develop further technologies to fully utilize the solar power for the amount of manufacturing that we want to do in space and everything else we want to do. But long term, I believe that safe space nuclear is a necessary thing that we need to have. And so we're working on nuclear fission surface power for example, surface of the moon, to power everything that we need there. Nuclear electric propulsion can, in the future, power space stations. Nuclear thermal propulsion is something that can shorten the time to go to other planets and even go interstellar. And then nuclear fusion in the future can again shorten time to go vast distances. I mean, the closest star to us is Proxima Centauri, which is 4.25 light years away. The distance from one port of our galaxy to the other is 100,000 light years. And if you go with our conventional technology, it might take 2,000 years to go only 4.25 light years. So we need to figure out a way where we can do that maybe in 6 months. And that requires new technologies, new inventions, new innovations, and all of that is being worked as we speak.
How do you do this and while also realizing and sustaining a viable economic model? Because it all hinges on that, right?
Yes, yes. So obviously the LEO economy, low Earth orbit economy, is here and real. And there's a business model that demonstrates that. And we've raised quite a bit of money doing that. As you know, Intuitive Machine is public, and now we're vertically getting more integrated to become a new commercial space provider with all the satellites we're going to be building in Lunar and all of that. The national security space is another whole area that is growing by leaps and bounds, again in competition with China and Russia and so on and so forth. Of course, interstellar is something completely different that I think needs to be more government funded. And I think we need to inspire the next generation, which one of my nonprofit is involved with, called Limitless Space Institute, to think about new engineering, to think about new science, new physics, to be able to make all that happen.
Ghaffarian, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you.